Are you glad you're at church tonight? Hey, high five 3 people before we have a seat. Hello, South Hill campus. Glad you're with us. All the online people watching all over the world tonight. Oh, my goodness. It's amazing to see what God is doing in this thing called Motion Church. Hey, if this is your first or second or third time up at our South Hill campus or here, would you give us a wave so we can welcome you proper? Give us a wave. Come on, would you welcome people first, second? Welcome, 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 welcome. Good to see you. Glad you're with us. Glad you're with us at South Hill. I just want to give a shout out to the Barta family, Ryan Barta with his family up there at South Hill. It's really cool because Ryan's sister was on staff with us like about 10 years ago, and he was a knucklehead. He was the kid like, oh my God, is this kid going to turn out or be an idiot? You know, I was wondering. And now he's leading stuff and first impressions and just rocking the house. A great father, a great husband. Ryan, you have my respect, man. I love you. Can you give it for Ryan Bard up there at South Hill? Well, if this is your first time, you walked into like a really interesting weekend to be at church. By the way, were you blown away by the opener that we had for our veterans? Was that like amazing? Hey, one more time, if you have a spouse deployed or you are a veteran, can you give us a wave one more time so we can welcome you proper? Come on, let's welcome our vets. Love them, appreciate them. Thank you. Seriously, thank you. Man, I get emotional. I get a wreck because if you don't know what our vets do and how they sacrifice and how they give, man, you need to go talk to people. Get out more. Go find out what these people do to get themselves in harm's way for our freedom and our way of life. We can never blow by appreciating what the spouses sacrifice and what the veterans sacrifice. One more time for our vets. We just appreciate, love you guys large. This is week 6 of our series entitled Set the Edge. Set the Edge. Now, this is a football term. If you don't know this football term, just simply Google it. We've explained it 5 weeks. I'm not taking the time because I don't got the time to talk about what set the edge means. But God is calling you to set the edge. Because if you'll set a good edge, things won't get around you. And if things don't get around you, guess what you'll have? You'll have a great marriage if things don't get around you. Right? If you keep things in front of you, you set a good edge, and you force to the middle where your help comes from, you'll have a great marriage. Hey, you'll have victory in addictive behaviors. If you have addictions that are really causing you to live in duplicity, if you set a good edge, you'll get victory over those addictions. You can get freedom. Don't you love our Celebrate Recovery that happens at Motion Church? We just have such a great thing going here because we get it that the church is about people. Church is about people. But buildings are necessary. You got to have them because people aren't going to gather on the street in November in Seattle. It's just not going to happen. For those of you that are watching in California, you would do that. We can't. Welcome. Good to see you. Glad you're with us. Have you ever noticed how kind of interesting how if you want stuff you have to pay for it? Is that just odd? I mean, if you go into some place and you like take something off of the shelf and you don't pay for it, there's a word for that. It's called criminal. You'll get in trouble eventually. I mean, you might get away with it for a while, but you're going to get busted. You just will. A couple years ago, it was Halloween, and you know, we have this frenetic pace because we're doing all of our activities for our 3 cobweb carnivals, and we're just going all over the place. And Tina came to me. She goes, "We don't have enough candy for our house. You need to go to the store." And I'm like, I don't got time. I'm getting my sermon ready and getting ready for men's night. I don't got time. She goes, "We need candy, and here's a list. Get some other stuff. You need to pick this stuff up and go now and be back quick because trick-or-treaters are coming." I'm like, "Oh, woman, love you, but sometimes, you know what I'm saying, in marriage. Are you with me?" So I run to Top Foods, right? And I'm on the phone and I'm talking. I'm doing 3 things. I'm multitasking. I'm on the phone. I run in and get some bags of candy. I get a couple steaks and tuck them into my arm. And I'm running, and I get out and I go to my car and I get on the road and I get home and I throw the stuff on the counter. And Tina goes, "Where's the receipt?" And it dawned on me, I didn't pay for it. gosh. I mean, they probably saw the short, bald white guy running through Top Foods like, there he goes. So I go back to Top Foods and I say, I would like to report a shoplifter. Where? I said, me. I'm so sorry. I took a picture of all this stuff. Can you scan it? Can I pay now? Or just take me in. I'm just so sorry. Because stuff isn't free. You know what else isn't free? Freedom. Freedom isn't free. We should change the word. Especially living in America. I mean, freedom isn't free. 243 years we've been a nation, people. 243 years. And nothing we have has been for free. It has been earned by the blood of veterans that have laid their life down and paid for the things that you and I sometimes take for granted, but should always be appreciating. In the few minutes that we're together tonight, you know what I want to do? I just want to give you a brief narrative of American history. May I? You know, we've been in 12 conflicts in 243 years. 12 as a nation. The very first conflict we had was the American Revolution on April 18th, 1775 in Lexington and Concord. That conflict was called the American Revolution for a reason. We were revolting. What was the cause? Taxation without representation. You see, the colonialists wanted democratic rights, but the English wanted to exploit the colonies and just treat them like garbage. So in 1776, we wrote something called the Declaration of Independence for the United States of America. We, the people of the United States of America, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and assure the blessings of liberty for ourselves and our posterity, to ordain and establish the Constitution of the United States of America. That was treason, the preamble of the Constitution of the United States. It was treason against the Brits. The cause was taxation without representation. The cost? 25,700 American lives, because freedom isn't free. The second conflict we had was the War of 1812. June 18th was its beginning. The War of 1812. The cause was the kidnapping and bullying from the British. I mean, these dudes, these jokers just couldn't figure it out. And if you're in Great Britain watching tonight, do not be offended. It's just history. You see, the U.S., we wanted to trade with France. But Britain was at war with Napoleon, and that created this conflict. So what Britain was doing was kidnapping American citizens and forcing them to fight for the Royal Navy of Britain. Here's what else they did. Britain armed the Native Americans to fight against the people from the country they had lost. The cost was 29,500 American lives, because freedom isn't free. The next conflict we had was the Mexican-American War, May 13, 1846. All the people in Texas will appreciate this. The cause was the attempted reclamation of lost land. You see, Texas had fought for and won its secession from Mexico. Many of you don't realize that Texas was one time its own nation. That's why when you hear this "don't mess with Texas" thing, there's a real sense of pride in that they were once their own country. Shortly thereafter, though, Texas was annexed by the United States. But here's the deal. Mexico wanted Texas back, and the fight was on. The cost was 13,780 American lives, because freedom isn't free. The next insurgent that we see was the Civil War, April 12, 1861. The Civil War. The cause, of course, was slavery. The northern free states considered that it was immoral for the southern states to own people as property. Brother fought against brother, father fought against son, and the cost was 600,000 American souls. Freedom isn't free. The next battle was the Spanish-American War, April 27, 1898. The Spanish-American War. The cause was intimidation. The battleship Maine was sunk in the Havana harbor unprovoked by Spain. The Spanish ambassador sent a letter from Cuba describing President McKinley as a weak leader, and the letter was intercepted, and it was game on. The cost, 3,279 dead, because freedom is not free. Next, we have World War I, April 6, 1917. The cause was cowardly, unprovoked aggression. You see, German U-boats, German submarines, had sunk a passenger ship and 7 merchant ships, and the attacks on non-military vessels brought the U.S. into the war. The cost, 116,708 souls dead, paying for freedom, because freedom is not free. Next, we have World War II, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The cause was literal preservation of freedom. An unprovoked attack on Pearl Harbor by the Japanese at 7:55 on a Sunday morning invited the reluctant United States into a 4-year engagement. The cost was 406,000 American lives. Don't tell me freedom is free. Next on the scope, we have the Korean War, September 3rd, 1950. The cause, critical ideology. The containment of communism by President Truman was of preeminent importance, but the spread of communism by the Soviet Union was preeminent to them. The first point of impasse was a country called Korea, and the cost was 33,741 souls. Freedom is not free. August 7th, 1964, we have this conflict called the Vietnam War. Please do not tell me it is a police action. That's insulting. It's a war. The cause was protecting our friends. You see, the North Vietnamese were pressing their communist agenda to the borders to the south, and the United States attempted to bolster and fortify the democracy efforts to Saigon. And when diplomacy failed, war ensued. The cost was 52,000 American souls, because freedom is not free. January 15th, 1991. The conflict was something known as Desert Storm. The cause was a stabilization of global economy. You see, this little country called Iraq wanted to control the flow of oil from the inland position to the seacoast. One problem, there was another country called Kuwait that was in the way. This madman by the name of Saddam Hussein took the capital of Kuwait, took their oil fields, threatened American interest. This tyrant asked for it, and he got it. But that got it cost us 141 American lives, because freedom isn't free. October 7th, 2001. The conflict was Operation Enduring Freedom. The cause, reciprocity for 9/11. Payback is a bummer. We shall never forget. Do you remember where you were when you saw those airplanes flying into those towers? The feeling you felt as American. The cost was 2,711 lives in those towers. And that freedom that we defended with was not free, because the last conflict was Iraqi Freedom March 19, 2003. That was the conflict. The cause, accountability. Accountability for a tyrant. American holding madmen like Hitler and Saddam accountable for genocide and degradation of human rights. The cost was 12,000 American souls, and we are still counting. The total price tag for all of these conflicts, 1,292,666 American souls who paid the ultimate price for freedom, because freedom is not free. Now, aren't you glad that we live in a land where we can worship how we choose, and we can study what we wish, and we can travel where we may, and we can engage in education that we desire and we can pursue careers that fulfill us? Aren't you thankful for the United States of America? But I submit to you for your consideration that there is a conflict, and there is a cause, and there is a cost greater than everything I just aforementioned. There is a conflict, there is a cause, and there is a cost greater than sacrifices of lives. You see, the Bible tells us that we should not be concerned about people that can hurt the body, but we should be very concerned about the entity that can touch the eternal spirit. Because the body is a vapor. It's going to be gone in a short, brief 90 years, and it's over. But your spirit's going to live forever and ever based on your decisions here on earth, either in heaven or in hell. And contrary to the polls of public opinion, this universalist nonsense, like everybody gets in, is a joke. Because if that's true, then burn that cross. I mean, just nuke it. Throw it away and get rid of it. There's no need for the cross of Jesus Christ if everybody gets in. Come here, Hitler, you little kidder. You didn't mean it. You get to go to heaven like everybody else. Are you serious right now? Are you joking me? You see, we're building churches because that's what Jesus Christ came to do. Jesus, he came from heaven to earth to show the way. From the earth to the cross, my debt to pay. From the cross to the grave, from the grave to the sky. And that's why we lift his name on high. You see, I submit to you for your consideration that Jesus is the best vet yet. Jesus is the best vet yet. You see, we give this award in America called the Congressional Medal of Honor. My uncle was a recipient of one such award. Very few people in 243 years have received that award. But I submit to you for your consideration that there is a veteran named Jesus who got in front of hell and got in front of the bullet. He took the shot for us so that you and I would not have to go through what he went through. Jesus is the veteran to which we admire and aspire to be like. In Mark chapter 14, verse 32, I want to read this narrative for you from the Bible, and it's going to be on the screen. If you don't have a Bible, it'll be on the screen for your consideration. And it gives the breakdown of the 18 hours before Jesus was crucified. It says they went to the olive grove called Gethsemane, and Jesus said, "Sit here while I go pray." He took Peter, James, and John with him, and then he became deeply troubled and distressed. He told them, "My soul is crushed with grief to the point of death. Stay here with me and keep watch." He went on a little further and fell to the ground and prayed that if it were possible, this awful hour awaiting might pass him by. Abba, Father, which of course is the Hebrew word and the Greek word meaning daddy. So we can get the kind of tenderness that's being exchanged here. "Daddy, Daddy," he cried out, "everything is possible for you. Please take this cup of suffering from me. Yet I want your will to be done, not mine." Then he returned and found the disciples asleep. He said to Peter, "Simon, are you asleep? Couldn't you watch with me even for 1 hour? Keep watch and pray so that you will not give to temptation." Let's read this line up on South Hill and here on the campus and online all together. Ready? Here we go. "For the spirit is willing, but the body is weak." Have you found that to be true in your life? Do you know what? I just love this book because it's filled full of imperfect people like me. Matter of fact, I love this guy named Paul who authored 50% of the New Testament. In one of his books called the Book of Romans, when he was literally in Rome, he writes this, and in the 7th chapter in the Book of Romans and on the 15th verse, he says, "I don't understand myself at all. The things that I don't want to do, those are the things that I do. And the things that I want to do, I don't do them." Anybody? Why is that, do you suppose? Why is it that there are things that we want to do and we just don't do them? And there are things that we just do not want to do, and man, those are the things that get done. Can I just tell you why? It's pretty simple. There is a battle being fought for your very soul right now. We know this. That there is a conflict There's a cause, and there's a cause. What is it then? Okay, here's the conflict. Ready for this? Good versus evil. Why in the world would we go up to Bonney Lake, where 70,000 people live on that plateau, and build a church and be doing things kind of like we're doing here at the downtown campus and what you're wonderfully doing up at the South Hill campus? Why would we do that? It's very simple. Hell hates every one of those 70,000 people, and less than 3,000 of those 70,000 people attend church anywhere or have a knowledge of the love of God that God has for them. In America, are you joking me right now? The last church built on that plateau was 52 years ago. There is a stronghold. See, in battle, here's what they teach you. Get the high ground. You get the high ground, now all of a sudden, you know what? You got everything in your purview. And to take the high ground, that's why Iwo Jima during World War II was such a prolific battle when 27,000 servicemen died within 4 hours trying to get the high ground. Aren't you glad that I'm not asking you to take a bullet tonight? Aren't you glad? That's not for you to take. That's been taken. That bullet's been taken already, yo. What's the conflict? Here's the conflict. Good versus evil. You see, in Ephesians chapter 6, the Apostle Paul writes to us, and here's what he says. Matter of fact, let's read this out loud together so our ears can hear what our spirit knows already to be true. Ready? Here we go. For we are not fighting against flesh and blood enemies, but against evil rulers and authorities of the unseen world, against mighty powers in this dark world, and against evil spirits in heavenly places. Do you understand what he is trying to say to you? That there are demonic spirits that know your address, your social security number, your driver's license number, and the fact that you get to only have to pay $30 for license tabs are a good thing, praise God. But here's the deal. He knows where you live. He's got a plan for your life to steal, kill, and destroy your tomorrows. But aren't you glad that there's a force that says in 1 John 4:4, greater is the Spirit of God that is in me than the spirit in the world that is against me. If your marriage is struggling, heads up. The devil wants to take out your marriage. If you've got kids, he wants to nuke your children. If you're trying to be sexually right up and up, he wants to steal your sexual purity. If you're having all kinds of anxiety, he's planting arrows and shooting arrows into your mind to make you anxious and nauseous and nervous, because that's what the devil do. See, that's the conflict, good versus evil. See, John 10:10 says, Jesus said, I have come to give you life and give it to you in abundance. 1 Peter 5:8 says, be self-controlled and alert, because your enemy, the devil, walks around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. Listen, the intel has been given. Come on, my military people. The intel has been given. We got good recon. Hoorah! We got the recon. We know what's been said about this good and evil. Well, what's the cause? Here's the cause. Liberty. Liberty. You see, it's God's desire that you don't be stuck in bondage. It's God's desire that you don't be locked up in this sense of anxiety. It's God's desire that you can just have a peaceful night's sleep and wake up refreshed and not exhausted from bad dreams. It's God's desire that you can have a smile on your face. You can have actual levity in your step. Your gait could be light. God wants you to have liberty. That's the cause. God so loved the world that he sent a warrior to rescue the human race from the tyranny of Satan. Anybody ever played dodgeball? We played it up in South Hill. I love that South Hill campus because you can play pickleball, dodgeball, and all kinds of various arrays of fun things in that campus because the seats are movable. But in the game of dodgeball, isn't it crazy how you hit someone with a rubber ball and then they have to go into prison? And they have to spectate in prison. Like, oh, I want to play so badly, but I'm a bad athlete. I got hit with a ball, so I'm over here with a bunch of losers, but I want to play so badly. But how do you get free? Do you know the rules of dodgeball? Somebody on your squad has got to catch one of those rubber balls, and then you get to get back in the game. Ha! Kank. Don't you love dodgeball? You see, Jesus made the great catch. Got you out. You were in bondage. I was in bondage. Here's my question. Why are we still living in bondage when we have been free? Here's the 411. Here's the info on that. If you don't have Jesus Christ living inside, I'm not talking beside. I'm not talking about your head. I'm talking about your heart. If he's only living beside you and not inside you, you are not free. You are in fact bound. And by the way, we all start there. Here's the tragedy of tragedies. Once you do get him living inside of you, he starts oh my God. Forgive me. Oh my goodness. Have you ever seen a woman's jewelry box that's not organized? And all the chains go in there, and it's like a big ball of chains with one dangly little chain? It's like, you need a better organizing system, sister. And you get a little needle and try to get them all free. Throw them out. It ain't never coming back. If you're a follower of Jesus and he's living inside of you and you're still walking in bondage, you don't have to live like that because the price has been paid. See, the cause is good versus evil. The conflict is good versus evil. The cause is for liberty, but here's the cost. Sorry. Hey, ain't no free lunches in this world. Ain't nothing coming for free. In order for you to get that, there had to be a cost. And that cost was the blood of the Son of God. You see, in the Old Testament, in the far left-hand side of this book, before Jesus, Adam and Eve, these two characters, were in this wonderful garden. And God says you can have anything you want, but you can't have that one tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Of course, they make a fruit salad, disobey God, and it's all their fault. Thanks a lot. And this bridge was broken between creator and creation. It was broken. There was a great chasm and there was no bridge. For 4,000 years, there was no bridge. Jesus came and became a bridge. He built the bridge between creator and creation so we could get access to God again. But that payment had to be blood. Because on the left-hand side of this Bible, the 39 books in the Old Testament, if you ever did naughty things, here's how you did it, how you paid for it. You'd have to take a lamb with no defect. You'd take it to the tabernacle church. You would tell your priest what you did. The priest then would sacrifice the lamb, and the blood of the lamb would be smeared on the altar, and that would be the payment for your sin. Can you imagine how messy, how gross that would be? I mean, if you were a priest, you had to be a butcher too. I mean, ugh. But hey, that was the payment. But you see, when God sent his son Jesus, he became the sacrificial lamb that paid for our sin. So here's the deal. The devil doesn't want you to know this. See, if I were the devil, here's what I would do. I would make you think that I'm not real. Gotcha. Gotcha. But here's what we know. The devil's very real. And so is God. Very real God, very real devil, very real heaven, very real hell. You see, Jesus took the bullet. He took the bullet for you and I. We're going to build this campus in Bonney Lake. We're going to do it. And tonight you've been given cards that are on your chairs on both of our campuses. And by the way, here, heads up, if you're a guest here, just use it as a fan. I don't want you to be geeked out. Unless, of course, God is telling you, hey, I want to get in the game, then you can do this too. Here's what we're going to do. We've been doing this now since February, meeting with people, having pre-commitments with the whole church core, but now we're doing it with everyone, all 5,000 of us over this course this weekend. And here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you 90 seconds to just hear from God. And he's going to talk to you, unless you go, la, 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 I don't want to listen. Here's what you're going to do. I want you to take that card, and I want you to write your name on it, and I want you to write the number on it that God's going to ask you to give over a 2-year period. And then we're going to drop them in these buckets. You're going to get out of your seat, and you're going to drop it in the bucket. See, I'm not asking you to take a bullet. I'm not asking you to give blood. See, our bullets, it's our currency. That's so easy. That's so easy. Wouldn't it be wonderful if that was the way it worked in war? Let's just write a check and make it go away. Not in war. But in this war, those are our bullets. Pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters, and dollars. So again, if you're a guest, please disregard. And you're good. You're good. Am I doing this right, Becca? Am I on script? Yeah? Yes or no? Okay. 90 seconds, I'm going to zip it. I know some of you think that's undoable, but it's possible. And then we're going to invite you to come and bring those cards. Now, I would like my church council to come up here on the stage with me. Let me introduce to you our hey, these are our dogs. These are the warriors. We meet every single Friday. Yeah, come up on here, George. We meet every single Friday at Starbucks for prayer and strategic discussion for you. Then we meet once a month and we have a 3-hour business meeting. Where's Holly? Is Holly here? Greiner? Is she at South Hill? She didn't get the word? Okay. That's who these guys are. And I just want to tell you, my wife and I, Tina, come on up here with me. You have our card. We're leading the way by example, okay? I'm not going to ask anything of anybody that I'm not going to do myself. And so, 90 seconds, zip. You're going to hear from Jesus. You're going to write some stuff down. And then we're going to invite you to come and start the process. Can you give our church council a great big round of applause? They're amazing people. Yeah, so that 90 seconds, Tina just said, move it along. That 90 seconds starts right now. 90 seconds. Clock. Invite everyone to stand across our campuses. Go ahead and stand your feet. Don't move yet. Tina, would you put the first one in? Scotty, can you go that way? George, can you go that way? And as soon as they're done, do your thing.